Now, I see that y'all have some really interesting things here. It looks like a fascinating place that you work. And, well, can anyone do that type of work?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Oh, really? I mean, hey, look at us. We can do it. And we're doing it all the time. And as I mentioned earlier, I started when I was 10 years old. And hey, I'm 51 now, so why not?
That's great.
Sure.
And I see you have some different equipment here than you had earlier. And also, y'all are dressed a little bit differently. So it looks like you have an indoor job and an outdoor job, too. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, one thing that I do when I head out in the field is I make sure I just have lots of pockets. I like to have lots of pockets because I have lots of stuff. I mean, there's little medicine vials I can use as collecting containers, and pens and pencils, and oh gosh, one thing that I always have is a little pad to write in. If I have an electronic device, that's nice, but even just a pad is great.
And I keep all my pockets actually in this very special collecting bag. So I have lots of little nooks and crannies and pockets where I can keep all the tools that I need to study bees when I go out in the field. And my most important tool for collecting bees is this net. And what I do is if I see some flowers,
oh, there's a bee,
and I see a bee near a flower,
oh, get him.
I try to catch it. Now sometimes I miss and they fly away, but sometimes I'm able to sweep back and forth and the bee will fly into my net. And in fact, just a few minutes ago, on these very flowers here, I was able to collect a bee that was right here on this flower, just like these bees that you see right behind me.
Garrison, would you hand me that net with the green tint to it? This is another kind of net. It's a nice shorter handle. Sometimes I like to use a shorter handle. And this netting is green, which makes it a little darker than the light coloring. And I actually prefer to use the white netting because it's many times difficult to see the tiny bees against the dark green.
Now another tool that we can use to collect bees is right in front of us. And these are called bee bowls. And these are very simple. These are just plastic cups. We've painted some of them and just filled with soapy water. Now the reason why we paint them different colors, as I said before, some bees are attracted to different colors. So different bees will crawl into these different colored bowls. And this is something that you can use, kids, right in your own backyard or as an activity with your teacher to find out what bees are living in your area. All you have to do is get some of these bowls and paint them different colors, put some soapy water out, and then when you come back later in the day, you'll see all the different kinds of bees that live right in your own backyard.
Again, I'll bring up the field guides. I always like to take field guides out in the field with me, and I can also refer to it back at home. And here, Garrison and Helen, why don't you, these are good examples of hand lenses, so you can look up close, whether it's a flower part or an insect on a flower. And then sometimes if I forget or if I don't feel like taking the magnifiers out with me, I'll actually take my binoculars that I've been watching birds with and I'll reverse them and I can get a nice close-up look at that flower, which is really, really cool. And then of course, I have at home, I have an old clunker of a microscope. I got it at an old microscope sale. And so that's nice when I go back home. But when I'm in the field, I also like to have cameras. And I know we have two different kinds of cameras. Helen has a camera which is called a single lens reflex camera, where she can actually change lenses and she can focus in nice and close and take a photograph of a flower or a pollinator on a flower. And what Garrison has over here is a different kind, what I commonly call a point and shoot camera. And you can see as Garrison is focusing in on, he presses one button, the lens goes out, and he can actually get a good shot of the flower or possibly a bumblebee that's passing by. And, oh, that's right, one last thing. I knew there was something I wanted to bring up.
That looks cool.
We did have an observation honeybee hive out here. And whenever you're working with honeybees, lifting up the top of the box and pulling frames out, you want to use what's called a smoker. You can see this is smoking a little bit because what you do is you put some, either pine needles or other material in there, actually light it, and all you do is you don't get flame, but you get smoke, and the smoke makes the bees a lot more docile and easy to work with so that you don't get stung.